Official Strongman Games, event 7. So Atlas Stone series, or Atlas Stone run. So athlete will load a series of 6 Atlas stones, increasing in weight onto a platform with 60-second time limit. Time and total stones loaded is your score. Time slots on the 6th stone are settled after being loaded and the athlete's hand off the stone. Athlete begins at the starting line. Each stone must remain on the platform in the hole provided. No grip shirts allowed. Stone platform heights for men, 60 inch down to 50 inch. Stone platform heights for women, 54 inches down to 44 inches. So to give you an idea, Tom, it's like, say, the 90s class. Your first stone's 113 to 60 inches. Final stone's 170 to 50. So what would you say about stones pointers? So the first thing that I'll say is, this is another one where we can just look at success leaves clues. Again, we'll repeat. Just go and have a look at who were the best guys last year. Like, who were the best guys? Look at the scores, look at the times, look at the split times. People who ended on 5, what kind of times did they get? People who ended on 4. Like, combine that with knowing your limits. Where are you right now? Would a fast 4 be something that you're aiming for? How many points would that get you? Fast 5? Would you be looking at 6? Like, look what's gone before and combine that with knowing yourself. So let's talk about it, Tom. What do you think? Stone run.
I'll just throw out some different thoughts as opposed to just some standards. So if it's one of your weaker events, train it earlier in your own session. I fully understand how annoying it is to tack you up, do stones, wash it off, and then get on with the rest of your session. But I'd see so many people ignore, again, it's law of specificity. If it's your weakest event, it should be first, okay? So training it earlier on can be an option. As you get towards the competition, it's probably going to be at the end. Why? Because you're not going to be doing this fresh. So with an element of fatigue, what are the events before it? So we've got the circus dumbbell, that won't take much out of it.
Circus dumbbell.
Yeah, so not too much in terms of pre-fatigue.
You might be a bit sore from like the deadlift and the sandbag loading the day before and stuff. But
it's definitely something that I see people do. They forget that, you know, if you want to get stronger at something, put it earlier in your session, attack your weakness. Yeah. It's going to make you a better athlete overall. So figuring out where that lies for you is important. Do you need it every week? Don't know. Again, it depends on your proficiency. It can be quite fatiguing to do some of these. You're not going to train all 6 events every week, especially as you get towards a peak. There's going to be a little load going for your body. It's a big ask to recover from that. But you might be able to get away with doing 1 motions 1 week and focusing on the speed of the 1 motion. I see people do 1 motions. If you're still doing it slow, if you're moving probably less than a meter a second, then that's still going to tax your nervous system somewhat. So alternating weeks where you might do 1 motions, you might do lap and load. You've got to load to height. I prefer people, we discussed this up at the competition, didn't we? I prefer people, if in doubt, load higher. Lighter and higher tends to be something that Trent says well, to heavier to lower. Successful clues.
But it doesn't. You see, so many people getting in trouble trying to do it the other way around, just pushing the heavier to lower, or 45 inch, 48 inches, 4 foot, or whatever. Some people they go to 50 inches and they think that that's high, and they like, I can load a heavy stone to. Whereas actually, if you like Tom says, like, that's a key thing, is that going light to high will transfer from to heavy to low, but training from heavy to low won't necessarily transfer to loading to height. So
what's 60 inches? Is that going to be most people's chest? Do they need to press it?
So
5 foot.
If anybody needs to. I don't think anybody needs to press that. I don't think anybody needs to press anything that's eye height personally.
Sure. So obviously, I mean, I'm thinking of different case studies. There might be the odd person that's shorter, but again, getting proficient.
I disagree. Like from what like look at Hicksy. Look, doing like you could do 100, 120 to Giant's height. That's 60. It's above his head. You never see him press the idea. Like
I know you disagree, but I've had someone like Tyrone Jones, who's 5 foot in the 90 kilo category, have to press.
Right. All right.
So if your height is going to stop you, there's no amount of, you're not going to be able to get around it. You have to put it on your shoulder, at least.
I think a lot of people are making it a bit more difficult for themselves in terms of energy cost, shouldering it where they could pop it up. Talking like eye height, or if it's just if the platform's about your head or just above, but I reckon most people can learn how to, if they learn how to extend properly. Like I think they can do it without shouldering it and pressing it. Touching on your bit about what you said about, like, say, rotate, like changing week by week and maybe 1 week going to higher or whatever. Like I would say that, like, for the people out there who like training a bit more frequently, like I do, like a thing that's massively helped me with stone loading skill. Like I bought a stone of steel off Hicksy a couple of years ago, and that's like 60, but it's like the size of, like 120, 130, 140. And it's brilliant because it just allows you to kind of like up the training frequency. Like there'll be like, say for instance, if I was projecting that I was going to get to the final and I was training for this comp, like I'd be training stones at least twice a week, but obviously to prioritize fatigue and fatigue management and stuff. One day might be just 60, it might be triples to like 72 inches, it might be like one motions to really, really high, got like the 60 building up to max height. And then when I go to like practice my stone run, the 100 to 60 inches feels just amazing in terms of skill, because I'm just repeating that kind of whatever. Going off on a tangent here a little bit, just like it's coming in my head, going back to like what Tom said on the other stuff about, say doing like get strong first, taking that principle, of doing like a strength accumulation block, say you did for the next 6 weeks, like just get stronger on the stone before we do the good. Because the thing is, if you train stone runs, you see people, they might do, say, two 5 stone runs, and that might be their full session, and they've loaded 10 stones. But by the time they're getting it down into position, like it does take a while, and it does come mentally tiring. Whereas if you're looking to do like a strength block where you might be pushing something else, like I don't know how you do it, Tom, where maybe like, say, push it alongside squats or whatever, but say you could do like a decent like strength or volume accumulation block with the stone. What I really, really, really like, I really like the stone over yoke with the return pads. And we've got a return pad at the gym, and it's amazing for volume accumulation, because people don't realize, like, loaded to a platform and then getting the mat out, bringing the mat out, dropping it down to the mat, getting it, like, it's that stuff.
Especially by yourself, that's, yeah.
Oh man, but that's the stuff that's actually tiring you. Like one motion in 90 to 55 inches, and it being like you say, like moving as fast as you just said, feels easy. It's the kind of lugging the stuff around that, or even so much as, like, I've compared doing. We've got a good setup at the gym where the flooring's really thick and reinforced, so we can just drop the stones down. And then I've compared it doing like, say, sets of 5 at whatever weight, load into the platform, just to the edge of the platform, then pulling it back down, dropping it, letting it settle and reset. And I compared accumulating volume on that versus the over yoke, and it feels like you're cheating doing the over yoke. No. So you could do like, say, you could do like, I've had it where like, say, guys at say a lad, I can think of the top of my head, lad doing his PB stones 160 or something, and he's like started a phase, and he did like 6 by 6 at 100 over yoke, and it was easy. And then next week is like 7x5 at 110. Like, and it was easy. And in terms of like, it was just like a really, really quick session. And he felt like his recovery was fine. Like there's no kind of, like, I find it's a really, really good tool for, you know what you said before about get strong before we go to the specific phase of doing the stone runs. So you could look at that as like, say, 12 to 14 weeks, like accumulate volume, get really, 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 really strong with an actual moderate weight stone for a lot of work. And then you're going to be able to take more out of your stone runs in the specific what, for sure. But yeah, if you can get like a kind of return pad set up over yoke, it's absolutely brilliant for the accumulation. So what do you think about programming for like for the say we get into the last 6 weeks, Tom? Like what would you how do you like to program in terms of stone runs specifically? Any kind of
I probably wouldn't do too many 6 reppers. I'd probably be looking at 3 sets of 3, things like that. You can do too much volume. If we're doing the 6 repper, it's probably a bit warm up, build up to 1 set, maybe 2. But I'd like them to, if they did 3 sets of 3, the first 3 stones would be stones 1 to 3. Second set would be stones 2 to 4, and so on, and looking how you transition from stone to stone. As you get closer to comp, specificity takes over. So if you can do as close to the competition run, then that's brilliant. But I've seen plenty of people who never do any stone runs. They just do reps and they're able to transfer it. So one of the things that's popping into my head is smaller details. I'm big on attention to detail. And after conversing with Luke up at Chaos, Luke Davis at Chaos this weekend, we were discussing what happened with Ree, and I didn't know what happened with Ree. I just saw that she was leading and then she had a bad stone run. So small things like which tacky you're using, and then when you're applying the tacky. Luke told me she applied it too early. She got there and it wasn't functioning. I don't know. I know. Is it Daytona they're going to?
Yeah,
Florida?
yeah.
So I know it's hot, but is it air conditioned? I know Brian Shaw has like 5 different tackies based on the temperature. So those small attention to detail. I know tacky malfunction cost me at Brits once. And it is devastating, and you don't want to get to the last event. I don't like bringing it up, Ree, but obviously it happened to you. So learn from other people's mistakes as well as obviously their success.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point and often overlooked, which you can see why it happens at, like, say, novice comps, intermediate comp, or whatever, or people are just kind of like giving it a go. But if you're getting to the final day of Worlds, you've invested a lot, you've paid hell of a lot of money. Yeah, like people might laugh at the Brian Shaw example and say, "Oh, 5 blends of tacky, like overkill, whatever." I just think it's like I've got about 5 or 6 in my little bag that a couple of degrees change. Like this is where a lot of people go wrong with tacky. They say, "What's the best tacky? What's the best tacky? What's the best tacky?" Like there's one kind of, like, say blend that you should be using, like, "Oh, go and use this one," or whatever. And whereas actually the different tacky blends work better depending on the temperature and humidity and stuff. So be versatile, be open-minded, learn how to make the decision on the day. Another tip as well is the tacky that might be ideal for your warm-ups might actually be different for your actual working set, because if you're going up, you've been like the OSG format, if you may have been stood around for 4 or 5 hours after the dumbbell, or a few hours, you've cooled down or whatever, you go to apply your tacky to get ready. You do a few sets, your core temperature is gonna significantly increase, and then I can picture it at comps where I've put it on, it's been perfect, and then I'm starting to sweat. I'm just stood around. I've just done my warm-up set and it feels okay, and then like 2 minutes later, I'm like, "What's going on here?" Like it's going. I can see beads of sweat coming through. So if you can, this might sound ridiculous and overkill again, but it works. Like if you do a warm-up set, the tacky feels right, you've got to do your utmost to keep your body at that exact temperature that it is right then. So a thing that I've done at competitions where it's been really hot, I've used my warm-up, I've done less warm-ups than usual, and I've just literally done the what I've gone to like I don't know, 20 kilos less than the comp weight stone for reps that I did at Preston. Yeah, I can think of an example, right? It was we did it last year. I think it was Preston Strongest Man under 105. It was 160 for reps. And I literally, and it was a really, really hot day. I literally did 120 to test my tacky, 140 for one to test my tacky. It was perfect. And I could see like the challenge was being really, really, really sweaty. So what I did, I went and sat in the car with the aircon on, and I just sat and I got someone to say, right, shout me out when I'm up, because I'm staying, and I'm literally staying cool and keeping my tacky at that temperature. And you could see other people, there was a couple of examples, they got to do the work in their, it become to their turn, and then you could see them, the tacky slipping on the pickup. So stuff like that, it like the ethics behind it, it does kill me a little bit, because I feel like something like that isn't really a test of strength necessarily. Do you know what I mean? It's
I completely understand what you're saying with that, but it's going to be part of the game now, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is part of the game. So everybody's got to embrace it. And using these little tips, they might sound like overkill, but if you do your warm, your tacky feels perfect and it's gripping. Do your best to maintain the temperature that you are now, and be aware that you're going to warm up a little bit. So one more thing in terms of programming. So you said what, three sets of 3 would be your kind of go-to. So what I would do, I'd say like work backwards. So let's talk about the final 6 weeks. Imagine we've got really strong, and we're talking about cashing in that final 6 weeks where we've built the strength. We're just kind of like converting into competition performance. We don't need to be doing 5 stone runs, 5 submaximal stone runs. It might be. So what I would do, I'd be looking at combine the knowing yourself and knowing your own limits, and try and imagine like an ideal day, putting yourself into the data of the stuff what's gone before. So put yourself where you project what you do on last year's scores or whatever, and then aim to be a little bit better than that, like, and then work backwards from that. So say for instance, like I was looking at looking at my category, and I'm thinking, oh well, what can I do to do six stone run? The 6 stone might realistically be just beyond what I can do. So it might be for me getting a brilliant performance might be based on doing the 5 really, really well. And so using that case study, I'd be looking at like, right, so to get the 5 really, really well, what would I need to do to get the fastest 5? And then go back on the data, look at the split times or whatever, and then work backwards from that. And then what I would be doing is like the week before, I'd be aiming to knock, say what, say they did the fastest 5 in 29 seconds. I'd be looking to hit a 1 week, or say 1 week, 10 days out or whatever. I'd be looking to hit a stone run, pretty heavy, maybe up towards 90%, but aiming to, but the most important thing in my opinion would be aiming to hit 26, 27 seconds, and like as heavy as I could for a 5 stone run within that, without killing myself or anything. And then what I would do is work backwards from that. I'd be like, say, right, so I hit that 5 stone run at, say, my final heavy session. So then 2 weeks out, I'd probably be hitting maybe the 4 stone run for a couple of sets within the time targets of what I'd need, say 5 seconds per stone, say roughly. So I'd be hitting 20-second stone runs to 20-second stone runs, at least two of them. And then the week before that, 3 weeks out, then I'd probably be hitting the 3 sets of 3 at 15 seconds Does that make sense, Tom?
No,
And then maybe even if I'm doing the 3 sets of 3 at, say, towards the heavier end, like say maybe not quite the heaviest stone, but like close to 90% of the last 3 stones or whatever, then what I would probably do is drill the first 3 submaximally. Say the first 3 are like 100, 110, 120. I'd probably be drilling an extra set of 3 at like, say, maybe an easy 70, 80, 90, or ridiculously fast at that, and then do 80, 90, 100 with the one motion technique or whatever. But basically what I'm saying is like, that's how I'd look at the end and then work it out backwards. And
no, I think that's the best way to plan. You plan from the end back.